from the Hudson Media Group studio. This is Talking Politics, and I am New Jersey's premier and now 7-time award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit online magazine, and certainly the Garden State's most beloved and factually accurate political commentator. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe. Hoping you're all having a wonderful start to the month. Happy October, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, as we all know, every year I'm proud to partner with the American Cancer Society and Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. With more information about my event coming up, we'll learn about that shortly. And certainly, folks, also let's raise awareness about domestic violence. As October, we go pink and purple for two very important causes. As always, there's a lot to discuss, so let's get started. Here's what I'm thinking about right now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, interesting articles that always come out of NJ 101.5 FM, whether it's from the morning show or exceptional journalists from the news department, such as Michael Simons. There's no shortage of things of talking about what's going on right now in the Garden State, and certainly one is the impact of illegal immigration. Now, kudos to NJ 101.5 FM for writing about this, because we all know that when it comes to sort of the mainstream liberal media establishment here in New Jersey, whether it's Insider NJ, the Star Ledger, NorthJersey.com, even NJ Spotlight News, well, we all know they lean very left. And the last thing they want to talk about is sort of the ills and the economic impact of illegal immigration and what it does, not just here in New Jersey, but throughout the United States. So let me just give you some details here about, quite frankly, why this should concern you. Now, it seems like one issue more than anything should really be dominating the news cycle, especially during this midterm election season, but it isn't. With open borders, thousands and thousands of migrants coming over the border every day illegally, a president in the White House that's not looking to secure the border, a vice president who was put in charge of securing the border is as clueless as, well, I don't know, as Stevie Wonder trying to drive on a straight line. But again, let me not digress. So when we're talking about where they're coming from or where they're going, it's interesting that New Jersey has a huge population of illegals. But quite frankly, and sort of a question I think that many ask on a daily basis is, well, how many of them are undocumented or just here illegally? And, again, we all go through those semantics. Of course, there's no shortage of virtue signaling, insufferable, woke organizations here in New Jersey, right? Such as Make the Road New Jersey, which, by the way, has blocked me on all social media for mentioning them as much as I do. And why not? I mean, they're acting irresponsibly with their rhetoric and their narrative. Or, for example, the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice. Yes, another insufferable left-wing organization that coddles illegals, right? Led by their illustrious virtue signaler herself, Amy Torres, another useless woman here in sort of the political scene in the Garden State. Or, for example, maybe Hector Seguera, a failed candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives who loves to virtue signal and loves to coddle illegals. But believe me, folks, he won't take one into his house anytime soon. But again, that's a typical hypocrisy you see from the left. But an interesting study was done by the Migrant Policy Institute, and it was published recently on their website, migrationpolicy.org. Now, it's no surprise to anybody, ladies and gentlemen, that New Jersey is 6th in the United States when it comes to the population of illegals. Now, New Jersey is a sanctuary state, as it was announced by Governor Phil Murphy upon taking office in January of 2018. And certainly, because of these policies by, for example, Governor Murphy or Governor Gavin Newsom out of California, or at the time, Governor Andrew Cuomo out of New York, yes, the incessant fixation on making their respective states sanctuary states and, again, welcoming to all illegals is something that, quite frankly, should not sit well with any of us if we respect and acknowledge the rule of law. But if you're curious about which counties here in New Jersey house the most illegals, well, it shouldn't surprise you here, and just sort of run some numbers up by you. And it was really, really interesting. So at number one, to no one's surprise, again, if you live here, the most densely populated county, not just in New Jersey, but in the continental of the United States, is indeed Hudson County. Now, according to the Migrant Policy Institute, there is an illegal population of approximately 75,000 people. That's just madness to me. Again, top countries of birth where these illegals come from include India, Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Ecuador. No surprise there. You walk up and down Burger Line Avenue, you'll probably see a melting pot of all the aforementioned ethnicities. Now, tied for second are both Essex County and Middlesex County. No surprise there. Very, very densely populated cities in those counties, respectively. In Essex County, we see 52,000. Top countries of birth, Ecuador, Brazil, El Salvador, the Dominican Republic, and Honduras. In addition to being tied for second is Middlesex County. No surprise there. If you've ever been to New Brunswick, I have. It is essentially an illegal haven there, but also with 52,000 people that are viewed as illegals there. Again, top countries of birth include India, Mexico, the Dominican Republic, Honduras, China, and Hong Kong. Moving down the line, Union County at 47,000. Top countries of birth, El Salvador, Colombia, Mexico, Guatemala, and Honduras. No surprise there, Union County, Elizabeth, some of those areas. Union itself, Cranford, very, very sort of rich havens for illegals to migrate to. Number 4, bit of a surprise here, Bergen County with 44,000. Top countries of birth, to no surprise, Korean, very, very heavy Asian population in Bergen County. India, Guatemala, Mexico, and Ecuador. Now you can go down the list, and again, great compilation by NJ 101.5 FM, again, in conjunction with the Migrant Policy Institute in highlighting what the problem is here. Now again, a very interesting also article I came across my desk this week was looking at FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform, an exceptional nonprofit, really nonpartisan organization that's dedicated to sort of examining the problem of illegal immigration. Now, according to their analysis, 4.9 million illegals have crossed into our country since President Joe Biden took office. No surprise there. Again, folks, we have a president who is just an open borders person. We have a vice president, perhaps the most incompetent woman in the United States, who we put in charge of securing the border, and we all know how effective Kamala Harris is at doing anything. Now, interesting numbers here. Earlier in the month, President Biden took credit for the July inflation rate being only 8.5%. Now that July border numbers are finally public, the White House may have to take credit for that. Only 199,976 illegal aliens crossed the border as well, down from 207,000 back in June. Now, it's a minor drop in border encounters, and unfortunately, this is not encouraging. Traditionally, numbers drop during the hottest of summer months, and last month's figures actually represent a 325% increase over the average number of July apprehensions during the Trump administration. More significantly, though, July numbers bring the total of illegals crossing our borders since President Joe Biden took office to a staggering, once again, 4.9 million, including some 900,000, quote, gotaways who eluded apprehension and have since disappeared into American communities. Folks, if that is not a national security problem, I don't know what is. Okay? If we learn anything from 9/11, right, we learned about potential terrorists sneaking through our borders because we all know how loosely monitored they are. And again, this is not an indictment on Border Patrol officers who work night and day, brave men and women who are dedicated to their profession and have a very, very difficult job. But it's exacerbated too when you have a president in the White House who is cognitively declining and is as senile as anybody, but more importantly, he's just lacking self-awareness about the considerable problem that illegal immigration poses to the country. And now I get it, folks. Virtue signalers like Hector Segarra and Amy Torres and all these other clowns that sort of band together, partnering for illegals and sort of, taking up arms and saying, well, illegals are an important part of our community. They contribute to our economy. They pay taxes too. Well, guess what, folks? They may do all those things, but you know what else they do? They consume resources. They bring their children here illegally. They crowd our schools. And if you don't believe me, I can tell you many school districts where classrooms feel overcrowded, to where teachers normally would teach 15, 20, maybe at most 25 kids in one classroom setting. When many densely populated school districts across the state of New Jersey and even across the country, for example, in California, most likely, right, where the influx of illegals is almost on steroids there. We're seeing classrooms with over 30 children. How do you expect teachers to be able to teach effectively? Now, again, as an educator, I'm biased here because the last thing I want to do is put more undue pressure on educators, whether it's kindergarten teachers, elementary school teachers, middle school teachers, and even high school teachers. Okay? They have a tough job to do. Notwithstanding the fact that they have a horrendous union that does nothing to represent them at the state level. We all know who they are, the NJEA. And again, more, that's a topic for another discussion. But the problem is, though, that again, this is where people like Amy Torres and Hector Segarra and all these other insufferable clowns that claim to be, we're all about protecting the undocumented. Even Patty Campos Medina, another insufferable leftist and useless feminist that likes to go on her show that nobody watches on YouTube. Okay, I'll let you decide that for yourself. I mean, be a good human, click on it, you'll give her maybe like 30 views for the week, if not for the month. But the point is that whether it's people like Patty Campos Medina, Hector Segarra, Amy Torres, or other insufferable organizations, the Latino Action Network. Again, another group of insufferable leftists that love to talk about illegals, but you know what? Just like the rich white elitists in Martha's Vineyard, yes, they're all about accommodating, but not in their backyard. And trust me, folks, it's no different with some of the clowns I just mentioned right now. But that's the problem, once again, folks, about illegal immigration. I get it. Those on the left will say, well, they serve a purpose, and they take jobs and perform jobs that Americans won't do. Well, conservatives like me will say, well, that is true, but they're also consuming resources. They're occupying housing. They're utilizing social services. They're crowding our schools. And how is that a good thing? How is not following federal immigration law a bad thing? And that's the problem, many on the left. It seems like they slept through that day in U.S. history class when it comes to learning about sovereignty. It's written into our United States Constitution, the preservation of borders. That's one of the federal government's many jobs that they have. But again, don't say that to a leftist. All they want to do is welcome everybody and anybody here. It doesn't matter what costs, economically, socially, or culturally, to, again, the fabric here in the United States. Folks, listen, I might be the only journalist talking about this along with NJ 101.5 FM. But I can tell you wholeheartedly, whether it's many in the Hispanic community or even conservatives altogether, regardless of your race or background, there's a problem that needs to be addressed. And I get it, every election cycle, it gets weaponized. It becomes a political football to throw around and try to get votes. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to get serious about illegal immigration. It's a serious problem. And with this many millions of illegal border crossings, sooner or later, the political chickens come home to roost. And that's what I'm thinking about right now. And now some local stories for your consideration. Let's start off in the mile square city of Hoboken, and a special thank you to Terry West from the Jersey Journal for her report on this story. Now here's some details that are very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Hoboken looks to add a police press assistant, but people objecting are concerned about spending and not really transparency. Now reporters who cover Hoboken currently have direct access to police officers. The person who handles press for the police department is indeed a lieutenant, and the last several police chiefs have made themselves directly accessible as well. Now the city wants to add a new position to take the work off and sort of the stress that comes with it to the sworn officer schedules. Now, the city has listed a position for a public information assistant, and the city council will vote on second readings to create the new role at its next meeting coming up this week. Now, the intention is to allow officers to focus on police work, especially at a time like the present when the department is understaffed, according to Hoboken Police Chief and Public Safety Director Ken Ferrante. The public information assistant would also publish and communicate information about the fire department, which does not currently put out press releases, and the Office of Emergency Management, according to Ferrante. Ferrante, a former police chief who prides himself on transparency with the press, said the level of press access to department information will not change at all if the first point of contact is indeed a civilian. If anything, he said transparency will increase. Ferrante went on to say this week also, quote, I was all about transparency, and I'm trying to do that with all the 3 public safety divisions that work with the city, and that's why we want to expand. So we get more info out to the public. That's my ultimate goal. At least 2 council members, though, plan to vote against the adding of the position because they believe that other city employees can take on the role if the department wants to outsource it. Just a year ago, Hoboken didn't have a public safety director or a public safety advisor, a role now held by County Commissioner Anthony Romano. It is already as a spokesperson for the city administration. Surely, said council members Ruben Ramos and Tiffany Fisher, someone currently on staff can handle press for the police. They said that they are not worried about a decrease in transparency if the work is outsourced from the police department. According to Councilman Ruben Ramos, hopefully they want to get the truth out, so hopefully it would be a transparent process. I'm counting on that better nature. Now, the salary range for the role would be somewhere between $45,000 to $80,000. I'm sure that's commensurate with experience and any necessary qualifications, right? Graduate degrees, etc. Now, according to Fisher, quote, I totally understand the opportunity and need to free up police resources. I just don't understand the need to add an additional $75,000 and why that role cannot be absorbed. Now, the public information assistant would have to get information approved by the department head and Ferrante before it is sent out to the media, according to Ferrante this week. During emergencies, those department heads or Ferrante will reach out to the press assistant so they can ultimately work on producing press releases and social media alerts. He believes that that will allow the information to get out faster. Folks, this is something that always kind of, I'm very, it depends on the day of the week and depends what type of mood I'm in, because I'm all about being a fiscal conservative. And if we can cut unnecessary spending, listen, I talk about it in Trenton all the time. How many unnecessary departments do we have in Trenton, right? The Office of New Americans and other wasteful spending to coddle a woke agenda or to coddle the left that permeates within certain sectors of the state legislature in Trenton. But, even here at the local level, I don't have a problem with this. Listen, if it frees up police resources and it frees up a police officer to go for him or her to do her job, that's fine. Now, what I don't want is a high-paying position for this to supplement it. Again, based on the responsibilities and based on the duties, folks, that's nothing more than a communications director at a very low-level municipal position. For that regard, it doesn't take a $75,000, salary to do that. Anywhere between $40,000 to $50,000, I think, should suffice. I get it. You might want to live in Hoboken or near it. Living on $45,000 to $50,000 might be difficult with how expensive things are, especially in the city of Hoboken or nearby in Jersey City or in many of the municipalities in Hudson County. So as long as it's a reasonable salary, I'm all for that. But like anything else, it might it might fatten up. Who knows? Based on qualifications. But again, you don't need a PhD, folks, to do this. Okay, it's simply writing press releases. It's simply coordinating with the various departments, again, within public safety, right? Emergency management, fire, and police. It doesn't take a PhD or a master's degree in public administration or in political science or criminal justice to understand what these positions mean. So, hey, I'm all for it, but a reasonable salary. It doesn't have to escalate or balloon up into something that, quite frankly, would take up city resources. And, when it comes to fiscal management, I'm always crying about fiscal responsibility. Here's just another example. Let's move to Jersey City. And once again, thank you to Terry West from the Jersey Journal for her exceptional reporting on this very important story. Now, it seems that New Jersey City University just passed a $148 million budget while still searching how to fill the $12.7 million operating deficit. Now, we'll get to some recommendations of mine in a moment, but according to the Board of Trustees, they unanimously approved a $148 million budget for the fiscally troubled school this past week, even though the budgeted revenues only add up to $135.4 million. Now, the 2023 budget includes $12.67 million for operating deficit for the year that the university's chief financial officer hopes to gradually trim in the coming weeks. On the balance sheet itself, though, ladies and gentlemen, that $12.67 million deficit is erased by that same amount in other financing sources. Now, the budget does not include any last-minute additional state aid that school officials still continue to seek. Now, again, the state budget was passed in June 30th specifically. How much will be made available to state colleges and universities? At this point, folks, since it's already past October 1st, a lot of municipalities and a lot of state colleges, again, with starting of the school year, respectively, a lot of that money has already been accounted for. So it'll be interesting to see where NJCU can get any money whatsoever from Trenton. Now, cost-cutting measures like layoffs, state aid, and the divestment from fixed assets continue to be key areas where the school hopes to find the money, though it had minimal progress to report since the board last met 2 weeks ago. In addition to that, officials say that the $12.67 million deficit will be more specifically categorized as revenue is found, and the administration subsequently will be required to provide budget and enrollment-related updates to the Board of Trustees every 45 days, per an amendment this past Wednesday. According to Chief Financial Officer Ben Durant, before the budget vote, quote, he said, "This is not the end of the process. This has been very difficult and challenging budget to perform. There are a lot of moving parts." Well, folks, again, I'm not an economist, even though sometimes I pretend to be one on my shows, but this is simple. Okay, I work in higher education. I understand a lot of the wasteful spending that goes on, not just in higher education but also throughout school districts in the state of New Jersey. And folks, this is where, again, my pet peeve about wasteful spending comes into fruition. When it comes to higher learning and higher education, do we need 55 deans on a college campus? Do we need a dean for student life? Do we need a dean for student awareness? Do we need a dean for inclusion and diversity and all this other nonsense? No, we don't need that. I'm sure you can downsize that into one position, folks. Okay, and these deans don't make minimum wage either. Okay, we're talking about $70,000, $75,000, even at times $80,000 positions. Okay, you want to cut down on wasteful spending? Consolidate. Okay, these deans aren't working it's not slave labor, folks. They're not there working, 20 hours a day, sleeping in their office. They're not. Okay, I know firsthand because I work in higher education. I see the way deans in higher education operate, the way that they work. All right, so here's my advice to NJCU and to Mr. Durant. You want to cut out wasteful spending? Downsize some of these positions. Consolidate them, okay? Take the newest people out, send them packing. Hey, sorry, it's been real, but folks, we got to think about fiscal responsibility. It seems like NJCU has been spending like drunken sailors. No disrespect, by the way, to the brave men and women who serve in the United States Navy, but you get what I'm talking about, okay? Let's get to cutting out wasteful spending, such as unnecessary deans, unnecessary administrative assistants when it comes to colleges and universities, some of these departments. I mean, I get it. We live in this time where we need, the division of diversity, inclusion, and awareness of blah, blah, blah. That's garbage to me, folks. I don't care about that stuff. I know many other parents, and I know many other taxpayers don't either. You can consolidate into somebody working for the Department of Student Life, okay? There doesn't need to be a separate division for the division of diversity or the division of inclusion and the division of, LGBTQ plus whatever awareness, or this awareness, or that awareness, or Hispanic awareness, or feminine awareness, or, black awareness. We don't need that, folks. Consolidate. I get it. Higher learning, higher education has become a cesspool of woke nonsense and leftist, narratives that sort of permeate throughout not just the curriculum, but throughout the administration at many colleges and universities, not just in New Jersey, but across the country. Cut the fat out. Okay? Cut it out, consolidate, and trust me, if you do that, you'll be able to save some money. But again, if having the division of diversity and inclusion and, the division of, undocumented students, solidarity, or whatever other garbage that we see on college campuses, we can do without it, folks. We can do without it, save some money, and hopefully keep NJCU afloat and keep them economically sustainable. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, it is October, and I'm proud to remind you all that during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I'll be hosting the 15th edition of A Professor's Quest to Save Breasts on Thursday night, October 13th, at the world-famous Son Cubano, located along the waterfront in West New York, New Jersey, at 40-4 Riverwalk Place. We'll have plenty of raffles being during the evening itself, outstanding music by DJ Ziggy Gonzalez, and of course, my outstanding host, as you can see there on the promotional flyer, will be working with me to raise money once again to help defeat breast cancer once and for all. So mark on your calendars, ladies and gentlemen, because on Thursday night, October the 13th, at Son Cubano, A Professor's Quest to Save Breasts is a great opportunity for you to network and party for such an important cause. And it's something that really sits personal for me, folks. Since 2008, I looked at it as an opportunity to give back. I've been very fortunate in my family that whether it was my grandmother, my mother, my aunt, or women close to me that were never affected with breast cancer, but I know way too many, even men as well, that have been afflicted with this dreaded disease that claims millions of lives every single year. And again, the American Cancer Society does a great job in helping families all across New Jersey and all across the country in helping them get the help, resources, and just support that they need during this very difficult time. For anyone that's ever known someone suffering from breast cancer, ladies and gentlemen, it's a debilitating disease. It's something that we have yet to find a cure. But I know that we keep working hard. We keep striving. We keep doing our thing every single year, not just during the month of October, folks, because yes, it's an important cause, as is also domestic violence awareness during the month of October. But now more than ever, folks, I feel just emboldened to help out men and women that are suffering from breast cancer. So whether, again, you look to donate that evening, once again, at Thursday night, October the 13th, at Son Cubano. By the way, from 7 p.m. until 1 in the morning, folks, a $10 donation at the door is greatly appreciated. So please bring cash. There are ATMs nearby, but folks, it's always important to bring cash with you anywhere that you go, especially for an event such as this. And also, ladies and gentlemen, let me just point out as well that Son Cubano is just an amazing venue in the New Jersey, New York tri-state area. Located along the waterfront, I've been proud to partner with them since 2013 for various philanthropic events, whether it's supporting the March of Dimes, Hope for the Warriors, the Wounded Warrior Project, Toys for Tots, or even my own toy drive, which I do every single December. There's no shortage of wonderful events and wonderful service and assistance that I can get from the staff at Son Cubano. I want to take also this opportunity to give a special thanks to Alex and Eddie Duran, the Duran brothers, who are the owners of Son Cubano, that since 2011 have been working so hard to provide a very classy alternative to nightlife here that, quite frankly, was absent for far too long. So if you haven't visited Son Cubano, folks, check it out. It's just a crazy great venue right on the waterfront. And for someone like me who loves Cuban food, being half Cuban, trust me, you can't go wrong there. whether it's the view, the service, the ambiance. Let me tell you something about Son Cubano, ladies and gentlemen. It is not to be missed. And definitely what's not to be missed is Thursday night, October the 13th, for the 15th edition of A Professor's Quest to Save Breasts to benefit the American Cancer Society and also making strides against breast cancer. Any donations online, again, you can check out the link right there. Also on your screen, check out the flyer. Mark it on your calendars, folks. Tell your friends. Share it on your social media, as it is available on all of my social media. The flyer is there. All your donations online are safe, secure, and tax deductible. And of course, on that evening, Thursday, October the 13th, all proceeds will benefit the American Cancer Society, and as always, making strides against breast cancer. And that's our show for this week. Once again, to check out all the excellent programming brought to you by the leader in independent media right here in Hudson County, the Hudson Media Group, please go to their websites, www.hmgtvshows.com, as well as www.livestream.com/hmgtv, in addition to the Hudson Media Group YouTube page. Don't forget to like them on both Facebook and, of course, follow them on Instagram and Twitter. Don't forget to also like Talking Politics with Fernando Uribe on Facebook, and, of course, follow it on Instagram at Talking Politics with Fernando Uribe. Brand new episodes of the 7-time award-winning podcast, Talking the Hudson, which you can listen to via www.blogtalkradio.com/talkingthehudson, will resume later on this month. We'll have great guests such as the Dean of Hudson County Journalism, Al Sullivan, as well as many other surprises, especially even now during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Folks, make sure you like Talking the Hudson on Facebook. Of course, follow it on Instagram. And also check out my own Instagram and Twitter. It's the same handle, ladies and gentlemen, at the Fernando Zone. And certainly make sure that you like Fernando Uribe on Facebook as well. Even my backup page, ladies and gentlemen, Fernando Uribe Jr. Yes, Mark Zuckerberg and all those geniuses and those, tech tyrants in Silicon Valley out in California like to make conservatives' lives miserable on Facebook. Of course, I'm no exception. But I find a way to still get traffic, not just for this show, but all my other shows that I host every single week, whether it's on Blog Talk Radio or also on Jersey First TV. And a special side note, ladies and gentlemen, I can't say enough about all of you that take the time to tune in every single week, here especially with the Hudson Media Group. You take the time because, you know what, sharing is caring. And all of you do make a point to share the episodes on your own platforms, and I am deeply grateful and deeply humbled. And you know what, I'm not the most humble person around, but I'm deeply humbled by all of your support. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it is always Talking Politics right here with the Hudson Media Group. I am New Jersey's premier and now 7-time award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit Online magazine for 2020, 2021, and now in 2022, and certainly the Garden State's most beloved and factually accurate political commentator, Fernando Uribe, saying so long, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, let's defeat breast cancer. We'll be raising awareness all throughout the month of October. And as always, thank you so much for watching.